Welcome back to the Retail Initiative Podcast. I'm excited for what I have for you today. One of the themes over the last several episodes has been pivots in business. And to be clear, what I don't mean is pivot like we've really been using since like 2020, where it's, we try something, it works or it doesn't, we have to pivot. I don't mean that. Really, I'm talking about massive changes in the business. I had Morgan on. She was from Rich Hippie, and she went from making jewelry to owning a clothing boutique. And Heather at Rebel went through massive changes in who she was and what she was doing since she started. And what I want to do today is talk about, okay, how do we know, one, when is the right time to do these massive kind of changes? And then if we're going to, how do we do it well? Because I think that we can tend to do these massive changes in one of two ways. It can either be a passive thing, something that just happens and we don't really notice it, or it can be an active thing. Now, the downside of passive is it's nice because we never feel it as much, but what that leads to is we can look up in 5 years and realize that we're running a business that we never actually wanted to run. So instead, if we can take control of the direction that our business moves in, I think that's what's going to keep us from doing that. And so first off, for me, I've been through this. When I first started this company, we were actually in the point of sale space. I worked in retail forever, and then I joined a company essentially reselling like point of sale systems. And back in the day, you needed a guy like me to come and do that. And then I saw behind the scenes of hundreds of businesses, and I started kind of shifting the way I was marketing and selling that. And then I had this guy come to me. His name's Michael, and he's like, "Hey, I have all these web design clients, and they need point of sale systems. Can you help me out?" And so we started doing some deals together. And then one day I'm like, man, like all these people, they're changing their systems and now they're wanting to integrate online. What if we just kind of partnered up? And so I offered him a job. And at first he said no. And I just kept bugging him. And finally he joined our team. And so we were doing point of sale and e-commerce. And at this time I was starting to speak more on e-commerce. I was growing so much in that space that my expertise was growing so much there. But I was really good at the point of sale side. And if you think about it, like, let's be real. No one loves their point of sale. No one. Like, I've never met someone who's just like, you know what I'm obsessed with? My POS system. Why? Because they're a pain in the butt. And not just the tool, but then you have like all the hardware. And that meant like I had a team that was managing support tickets, and I was a part of that. And one day there was a Saturday where I'm at my son's soccer game-ish thing. He was like 3 at the time. So it was, not really a game, just a practice that we cheer. And at the end of this game practice thing, they would do this thing where all the kids would shoot a goal by themselves and the group around would chant their name as they were doing that. And I had a ticket from a very important client, and their receipt printer wasn't working on Saturday. It was their busiest day. And so I'm like 30 yards away dealing with this issue. And I'm watching as this crowd of people's cheering on my son, and I can't be there. All the while, the guy on the phone's frustrated to even be on the phone with me. He's not appreciating what I'm doing, which I don't blame him. Like, hardware sucks. It is what it is. I don't blame him for his frustration, but here I was losing something really important to do something that I hated. I hated it. And at that point, that Monday, I told Michael, we're done. No more point of sale. We're wrapping up. We're going to finish the projects that we have. We're done. Man, I'm loving the stuff we're doing on the e-com side. The impact that we're making and the things that we're getting to do are unbelievable. And so I literally cut off the biggest revenue producing piece of my business and went all in on helping brick and mortar retailers grow online. And then we ended up starting a momentum program to make a bigger impact, where we were helping like, okay, how do we not just have a better site, but also drive more traffic? And how do we create more repeat customers? So people left with like a full plan in place. This is what it looks like to grow online. And we were able to do that because we went all in that area. So when I talk about pivots, like, it's not like this is something that I haven't been through before. I've been through it deeply. So let's talk through these different kinds of pivots, because I think a lot of times when we think the word pivot, we think about only one type, and that's pivot in tactics. I'm trying this thing and it works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, let's pivot and let's try something else. But I really think that there's different layers to pivoting. A lot of the episodes we've talked about haven't really been pivots in tactics. They've been pivots in identity. The fundamental identity of the business and what they do, what they sell, all those pieces completely shifted. And so here, sometimes we think that this is the case, that we fundamentally need to shift. And the biggest thing that I want to offer here, if you think you're in that place, you're a boutique and you want to go into home decor, or you're in home decor and you want to start selling clothing or some other massive shift that either is what you sell or who you sell to. If it's that deep of a thing, it is an identity shift for the brand. Should you do it? The first thing that I want you to think about is, one, do you want it? Do you actually want that shift? If you are passionate about fashion, you may be good at home decor, but if you aren't passionate about it, why would you want to run the business that can do it? Now, look, if you're purely in it for money, and which there's nothing wrong with that, but if that's where you are, then sure, like you chase what you want, which is ultimately the revenue. But if you want to be doing something that you're passionate about, ask yourself, this next thing I'm thinking about, do I actually want it, or do I feel like I'm being pressured into it by the market or by something else? Generally speaking, if you are being pressured into it by outside circumstances, you will eventually resent that shift. You will eventually resent the fact that you made that decision because you are no longer running a business that you love or that you enjoy. And so if you're going to do it and you need help like thinking through it, there's a few things I would recommend. And these are really two sides of the same coin here. Is first, map out, like define traits of the business that you never want to lose. What are aspects of your business that no matter what, you never want to lose? I love speaking to groups. I love speaking on webinars. I love making digital content. I'm passionate about those things. I never want to lose the connection and aha moments that can happen on a one-on-one conversation. Like that is a critical piece to my well-being, is that I get the ability to connect with people one-on-one and help create some transformation in them. Is it the most scalable? No, but it's something I never want to lose in my business. So for you, what are those things? It may be, hey, I never want to lose fashion. I just love it so much. I never want to lose that. Well, that answers your question on if you should move into a different industry. And then the next thing is the flip side of that. What are aspects that you never want? Like, what are things that you're like, look, I don't care the impact. I don't care about it. I never want these things to be a part of my business. So for me, I never want to go back to being tech support. It's an awful business, and I hated it. Because here I was so good at all these things, and I'm fixing receipt printers. It wasn't. So for you, what is that thing? What would traits be of things you never want to do, to be a part of the business? If you don't enjoy it, I was talking to someone and they were like, look, I just don't like clothes for older women. I love serving customers my age, but we have these older people that are coming in, and I feel like I need to buy for them. Well, for her, it's no, hey, I really only want to target this market, and that's okay. We need to define what do we want and then what do we not want, and make sure that any identity shift contains the things that you do want and does not contain the things that you don't want. So that's pivot number one, change in identity. The next one is change in strategy. This is not necessarily changing what you sell or who you sell it to. This is kind of changing how you sell. So examples of this would be the thing that we do, helping brick and mortar retailers gain a ton of traction in their online sales. That is a shift, a massive pivot in strategy. We were serving people as a brand, as a store, and we had a website and all this other stuff. But now we're a brand that serves people in store. We're a brand that serves people online. This is new marketing strategies, like getting started in Facebook ads. Those are just examples. Now, some big questions to think through here is, first, I always want to ask the question, what if it works? If it works, do I like my business more or do I like my business less? The big example I have here is live sales. I won't lie. Live sales are the easiest path to, like, if you need to make some money right now online and you just want to do it quick, going live is the fastest and easiest way to do that. And if you have like short-term needs that you need to fill, by all means, go and do it. It's easy. I'm not saying like anyone can do it. There's ways to be good at it and ways to be bad at it. But generally speaking, if you're decent at it, it's the fastest way. But what if it works? I talk to a lot of people that tell me like, yeah, we're really good at online sales. We're doing X amount of million per year in online sales. The only thing is, like, I'm stuck in our offices 3 nights a week. I just want my evenings back. They ultimately made these decisions in their business, and here they are years later, wildly successful, and they are resenting that thing they went into. So I always want to ask, what if it works? And then we want to acknowledge, okay, am I trying to fill a short-term need or a long-term vision? There's nothing wrong with needing, like, at the end of the day, you have bills to pay. You need to keep the lights on. Like, I get that piece, but typically a lot of what I see is the decisions that we make where we're really thinking about the long-term health of the business will ultimately reverse engineer themselves into short-term success. But when we only chase short-term tactic one after the next, that does not necessarily leave the business any healthier 2, 3, 4 years from now, because we've only been operating out of immediate need the whole time. So instead, what I love to do here is really map out, like, where do I want my business to be? Where are we getting sales? Who are we serving? How are we acquiring them? Are they buying on a regular basis? Are we doing a ton of new customers? What do all these things look like? And then I want to reverse engineer. Okay, what is it going to take to get there? What I need to focus on today for that thing to be possible? Instead of, I need to get sales, what's going to get some sales really quick? And am I saying that you should never do that? No, I'm not. Short-term tactics are helpful. They are necessary in just about every business I know. But if we are only chasing short-term tactics, it makes long-term success, long-term vision near impossible. And then the last one is a change in tactics. This is what most of us think about. And this is just like, hey, this worked, this didn't. And so we're going to shift what we do. And this is something that I encourage be an ever evolving part of the business. And instead of being frustrated by it, really see it as something that we can be fascinated by. And the term here is fascination over frustration. Frustration looks like, we run an ad, it doesn't work. And what do? We say ads don't work. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. We know that ads work. They just didn't work for us yet. So why? Did we have a creative issue? Did we have a copy issue? Were we targeting the wrong people? Did we have a site problem or a patience problem? Which, by the way, there's data that shows you all of those things. So if that's the case, then we know we need to figure out where our problem is so we can adjust. And we can get curious of like, oh, why didn't this image work? Like, let's try something else. And if you keep doing that, you will find a tactic that works. So the theme of this is thinking through the fact that your business is going to evolve. Even right now, if you've been in business any amount of time, I'd be willing to bet that how your business looks today looks nothing like what you thought it would look like when you started it. This is a healthy and normal part of running a business. We make shifts, we make adjustments. What I want to encourage you into, and what this episode was for, is to say, but let's make sure that we're deciding when we do that we are making active decisions to make these changes versus letting outside circumstances dictate where we go. So that's my encouragement for you. I hope this was helpful. If it was, here's my request. Open up Instagram, go to Retail Josh. 1, if you don't follow me, follow. And 2, shoot me a DM. Let me know if you have any big takeaways. We have some amazing interviews coming up. I'm really excited for, and I cannot wait to see you on next week's episode of the Retail Initiative Podcast. So see you soon. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Retail Initiative podcast. If you want more free resources, trainings, downloads, you can get those at madebycapital.com/podcast. Again, that's madebycapital.com/podcast. And for those of you that are serious and really want to take the success that you've built in your brick and mortar storefront and you want to create that same level of success online, I invite you to schedule a free call with me, at madebycapital.com/schedule, where we'll dig into your business, like where things are now, where you're wanting to go, getting really clear on your goals, and what are the 2 or 3 things that might be standing in the way of getting there. Now, look, if we're a good fit, I'd love to share what that looks like. And if not, my hope is that you leave with clarity on where to focus for you to reach your goals. So again, thanks for tuning in. And as always, leave a review, make sure you're subscribed, and I cannot wait to see you next time.